Hi guys, we're going to be doing a quick weekly scan here. I know it's Saturday, or actually Friday. I'm planning on putting this out tomorrow, but I have a couple names I want to go ahead and emphasize right off the bat. You guys know Google, really familiar chart for a lot of you guys, but this still looks really good. I'm looking, really, we had this, this triangle breakout with these higher lows consistently being made here, and then we obviously had the breakout over the top. We were able to time this consolidation here and the liquidity sweep underneath the gap fill and really just kind of ride this daily higher low trend line and then broke out over the top. Unfortunately, I did close, I think, somewhere between these two candles here, 137.47, somewhere between there and 136. But this chart still looks really good, guys. It obviously broke the swing high, actually pushed above this level here, which I didn't think we'd get to. It was the October high. And really all it's doing now is pulling back on low volume. I know we do have some, patterns here that are a little bit not consistent with a complete divergence. I know we have higher volume here for the sell-off candle on the 27th. And then we have, low volume and then high volume again. But still, right, I would say it's harmonic in the sense that it's completely low volume due to the, obviously the shorter week here with the holidays. I still like the risk reward. Right, I don't really want to be trading names that are breaking out without really retesting levels. I think this is one of the first names that came to mind with it retesting. So what I'm looking for, right, is a retest of this simple weekly high break at 139.42. If we open here and kind of hold, I'm willing to add. But, right, there's a secondary level that I want us to bring our attention to, which is the secondary green line at 137.47. What is that? Right, that would be the gap fill between Tuesday the 19th into Wednesday the 20th, right? So if this can pull down and fill the gap and just kind of hold here, I love this in terms of a full-sized position, right? And it's essentially a retest of the trendline break as well. So we have two confluences there. Haven't pulled any fibs or anything like that. It's just something that I eyeballed as we make our way further into the week. We'll just see where it ends up opening up. We can do some more evaluations on that. But right now, one of my top focuses, right, would be this. If we open here, 139.42 and consolidate, I'll probably put a half size position on if we get a pullback into the 137.47, full size position, and then I'm looking for it to essentially come here, right, push down, break out, and then end up targeting these highs here, right? You guys can clearly see the notated target sign. That's what it would look like for my full size position, right? Just kind of pull down, break out, pull back again, break out, right? Something simple like that. Obviously, there is the potential for this to even go crazier, right? Let's get rid of some of these. Okay, you guys can see the low volume week as well. If I just get rid of my flag, right? This is a very, very low volume week. Still finished near the highs of the weekly candle, which was the breakout candle. I would say bears didn't really do the job of getting this even to the midpoint of this candle. Continuation is likely, okay? So just want to mention that this could potentially push further than my target. Could push up to these weekly highs here, right around 144. I could see, even see 145. Gamma levels on this as well are kind of signifying that we should see a 143 to a 145 push. So, 143 conservatively would be, right, kind of these weekly highs here. So that is going to be my main focus moving forward. Contract wise, I really, really want to get some time on this, if I'm being honest. So I'm thinking February 16th. Either 145 call or the 150s. I'm probably leaning towards the 145s. They're not too expensive. They're about 385 a con. So yeah, we'll see what we can get on these. But let's go ahead and jump into the next chart. All right, guys, next one's Tesla. This is obviously going to be on the weekly scan. I think it always should be, especially considering the chart we have here. But we do have delivery numbers on Tuesday in pre-market, so I can't do too much, and I didn't want to swing into a binary event. But I do want to say this is definitely looking like a sell-side structure. I think it's coming down to the gap fill. We've been waiting for this gap fill for a long time. I just think it needed to bait a lot of the bulls and really kind of just affirm that the breakout wasn't accepted, right? And then obviously I think it'll trade down, sweep liquidity at the gap, and then we can go long again from there. I've just been playing around with this until we get this gap fill. I know we had a couple swings that worked, a couple intraday stuff. I haven't really been too big on Tesla, but yeah, just looking at the weekly, guys, I mean, we have this all-time high trend line here where we had, the high, lower high, rejection, just rejection after rejection really. And then we had another fake break over the top there, a lower high here, and another fake break there on the weekly. We just peep into this level here, right? You guys can see clearly just fake broke out over the top, and we ended up coming right back down pretty harshly. I know this volume's not the highest, but it is high volume. Barely any bounces off the key levels that we're looking for. So really, like I said, I am looking for a sell side move here. What do we need for that? We need retests of breakdowns and key levels. I would actually put a little bit more emphasis, not in this spot here, right? Let's make this blue. I'd be looking more how it reacts to this down here, right? So I guess, here, let's do this. We'll just make this a little easier on the eyes. Like right there, we're going to be looking at how it reacts to this green zone, right? Remember I talked about this. This is that big spot here with the equal weekly highs versus just the one weekly, I guess, pivot point here. And really, this hasn't been respected too much. You guys can see it kind of, a lot of price action's gone through that. So really, in my opinion, it all comes down to this spot here, 246.70. I would be looking for a breakdown first, right? So kind of a further push in, touch, and then looking for this to trade. I know it's not gonna go just like this. We'll probably get one more lower high and then get the move down. But I am looking for Tesla, just looking for the sell side structure to enter. Obviously, we want to see the volume as well. So high volume on the break under 246.70. This retest ideally, however it comes, whether it's a 15-minute flag, hourly flag, what daily bar that whatever it may be. We're looking for a retest of 246.70. Failure to get back above these weekly highs, and then we're looking for this to finally trade towards this gap fill here. I feel like this is a picture perfect story, with how this had been consolidating and building up, and this was the most sought after chart. It finally gets the breakout, only for it to fake, right, and kind of pull back down on this day here, the 20th, breakout again, and then really just fail the all-time high trend line. This looks perfect, especially for those that took those swings that were super far dated and didn't take profits. Why I did take profits on the 260s and the 280s. Mind you, the 260 was only one contract, but now we're looking for this to kind of complete the full circle, where I think it does sweep these equal lows here on the daily, take that liquidity, come down here to 225.40, and then I would look to go long here with leaps, of course. But yeah, I'm looking for sell side structure on Tesla. Delivery numbers, this might give it to us, guys. I'm being honest. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes on this. I can't give you guys a definitive kind of chart because it's going to be obviously taking place in pre-market, but I am keeping my eyes on this for break under, retest of, which this portion right here more than likely will happen in the pre-market, right? That little section there. And then I'll probably be looking at 225 puts 2 weeks out, just to give ourselves some time. But this is probably, like I said, my sell side chart of the week. So keep this on watch, and it's going to be a primary focus on Tuesday. Okay, guys, this is one that I already have a swing on. And mind you, I'll talk through this as well because I think I could be wrong just on expiration. But, I think this name is definitely worth a stab. Probably one of my favorite charts. And if you guys can't tell, one of the easiest things to spot if you guys have ever charted or done TA or anything like that. You guys know I don't even trade like this, but we have a nice cup and handle, obviously, that formed here. It's on every time frame, but the monthly specifically is very, very pretty with obviously the cup here. We had the handle pullback. I mean, if you guys take a look here, even at the volume, right, you guys can see, for the handle that you want to see is low volume, right? And then the breakout, you guys can tell, right, the breakout is on harmonic pattern with volume increasing, and not to mention very clear fair value gap here that we can see, and this is a true fair value gap. This occurred during the obviously the stock falling apart during earnings, but these were gap downs and subsequent moves after earnings. So these were all very, very clear true fair value gaps. They're not just a 3-bar pattern like most people get it mistaken from. This is a fair value gap, like 100%. So yeah, like I said, one of my favorite charts on the market right now. The only thing I'm struggling with is the timing of it and figuring out the expiration. I almost want to grab leaps at the, earlier today I did start a position for, I think it was 0105 or 0112, sorry. But I'm really thinking we might need a little bit more time, especially considering the monthly It is in an active sequence breakout. You guys can kind of see with this volume here, candle finishing near the monthly highs as well. This looks good to continue. I just, is it going to be this month? Is it going to be next month? Really not too sure. The weekly chart looks fantastic as well, guys. I mean, this looks beautiful. We have a nice clean inside week here. Very, very low volume. It actually closed just a little bit under last week's close, right? So we closed just down here. And now this is where I'm struggling, is where exactly do I want to risk, right? We have a nice little flag here that's kind of formulating on the daily, but where is this going to bounce off of? We have these daily lows here at 52.12. I'm kind of thinking that spot, or I might open up my risk tolerance a tad, right? Maybe to the 21. That's a little bit too deep for me, though. I think I'm just looking at this on the daily, maybe 49.56. I'm assuming that's the month, or that's the weekly right here. Let's see how this looks really quickly. Yeah, they're pretty much in line. So maybe 49.90. If we just take these off really quickly. Yeah, 49.90 could be my absolute risk for this. I just want to make sure, as it's selling off, though, we want to make sure volume is staying in control. Right? For the most part, it is. This looks pretty good. This looks like it's just going to be, these daily lows plus the 9 EMA, right? And then we should bounce. Obviously, I think we need some kind of catalyst or some kind of short cover or something like that for this to actually happen. Hence why I want to get maybe a little bit more time on them. They are expensive, so I understand. Carvana is sitting at like 1.14. If we went to like a further expiration, I'm trying to look really quickly. If we go to, usually I don't do this on these videos. I don't know, maybe like a February 16th. 60 call, those are 475. Maybe we can even do a 70 call, something like that, where we buy like another month of time. Take the L on this if it does break the risk level here. Buy a little bit more time on these as these become more discounted towards the 49.90 mark. Would be cool with like February, March to give this the extra month or two. But best chart on the market, in my opinion. Just whether, how long it's going to take. Really, the targets can drastically change. We can either look for the top of the fair value gap here, which it did reject from. You guys can see we didn't get a candle close over the top. Okay, we had, where do we go to? 62.59. That's actually the target for the trade. But if we get crazy, I can see this whole fair value gap filling. And this going to 97.70. We can just round that to 100. Let's say, kind of similar to UPST, if you guys remember that, we got that break into the fair value gap and it held above, and then Powell talked and then it filled the whole fair value gap. Not saying it's going to do it in one shot, but if we do base in the 60.94 level again, kind of consolidate here, I'd be open to taking some riskier 100 calls, maybe a month or two out from whenever this ends up happening. But yeah, this is a chart I absolutely want to pay attention to. It's something I want to size into. Just trying to figure out the right expiration, but definitely keep this on watch for next week for what happens at 52, and if we end up coming down to 49.90, just kind of making our evaluations from there. All right, guys. Speaking of UPST, I know Carvana's chart looks good. UPST looked good, looked promising for if it held this gap level here, right? Also kind of coinciding with the gap over here, but it failed today and on high volume. So what do? We reevaluate, we reassess, and we look for levels, right? This chart looks good to come back down. Now there is a fair value gap here on the daily, right, from this big breakout candle. This was the one from Powell. So what is this? This is a true fair value gap, right? Because it happened during news. There was plenty of orders that were bypassed. This looks like some kind of distribution. I won't go into a smaller time frame. Doesn't really matter, right? Volume's telling me everything. So I'm probably looking for this to trade back down into the fair value gap. 36.99 I think is the spot. I'm just going to take it from the weekly high here, so 37.33. Very simple, right? What are we going to do? We're going to take the level that it broke from, right? The gap that buyers should have held. Make that nice and bold. We're looking for this to press back up, reject, sell back down, right? Very, very simple. This is, I'd say, second behind. Actually, I would probably put this up above Tesla just because Tesla is binary. I don't know what's going to happen with the delivery numbers. So I would say my top focus for a short this week is going to be UPST. I think a lot of people got stopped out here, so I can see a retest happening. And I could see even a fake break over the top there. But this is my number one focus, I guess I would say, in terms of a short position that I'm, definitively can say it will happen. Like I said, Tesla, I have no idea. But this looks good to come back down to 37.33. Can reevaluate there and look to go long. You guys didn't know, right? The orange is the fair value gap it's currently in. So I still want to see this trade back up to like 59, 51, even, maybe 50 here. This was my long side target. But for now, right, I think this comes down to 37.33. Expiration wise, I'm not too sure. I'd probably play it safe and go like January 19th or maybe February. But this chart looks good for a sell side move, right? You guys can see maybe it pushes up a little bit higher to this weekly shooting star, the low of that. I don't think so though, and the target's up for debate. It could be either 37.48, which is the weekly high here. So actually, we'll just keep it that. Sorry, I just realized that. I guess I had mine a little bit lower. So yeah, 37.48 would be target here. So about a 3-point move if we can catch it from the top. It's a 12% move on the underlying. As an options trader, that's what we want. So let's go ahead and just readjust that. So 37.48 target, looking for a 43 rejection. All right, guys, that's going to be focus, I guess, number one for a short side. Hey, guys. So last short setup. I usually don't have a lot of these, especially considering the market now. I feel like we're still in buy the dip mode. I'm not going to be full short or just looking for shorts until we see vol up, market up, right? Obviously, the signs will be there as well with a bar and the volume working in tandem. But until then, it's just going to be on a need be basis. So if the market does need a short, I have 3 up my sleeve. Tesla, UPST, and then obviously Charles Schwab here. I feel like this is a really structurally sound short, and it could work out. We kind of saw the same exact thing, if this looks familiar with NVIDIA, right, where we have this low volume move up, right, through this outside bar or engulfing bar. And then really what it's looking to do now is trade on higher volume for the top or the peak of the sell-off, and it should make its way back down towards the low, right? So that would be give or take 67. Sorry, I don't have my little things on. So yeah, 67.06 to 66.41 for the gap fill. Pretty easy short. I don't think this is too crazy. Only thing is vol, right? Obviously how the volume will end up kind of forming out. I don't really trade Charles Schwab that much. I'd have to go look at the open interest on the strike that I'd want to select as well. More than likely, go at the money or even in the money for these. I don't think they'd be too expensive. And just try to get it down to a very conservative 67.06. Maybe keep a couple runners for 66.41. Honestly, I wouldn't go too heavy on this just because, like I said, I don't really like short setups right now. On top of that, too, right, I mean, volume has been pretty low across the board. I assume open interest isn't going to be the greatest, but, this still looks decent, I would say, from a weekly perspective. So, I really think this is just means to an end to basically get to this gap and then consolidate for maybe another leg higher. There was a gap up here as well. I could see that being formed, in the next couple weeks to months. So I don't really think this is a pure short side setup to get it all the way back down to this lower range. I just think this is, like I said, means to an end to get to this gap here, fill that, right, and then rebalance and restructure back for this gap here. But this is definitely something to keep on watch, right? Another one I'll just throw in here off the top of my head. I'm gonna have an alert set here. Is Palantir. You guys should know me by now, as I really don't like to short the gaps. We typically see gap traps, if you guys are newer, right, where we'll see a fake break into a gap because people just love to just short or go long in gaps without really looking at the daily candle close or volume. They just think it's free money, right? So we'll typically see one side get trapped here. Very, very obvious, and I talk about this a lot with the progression system and how like pivotal gaps are, especially on pegs, right? This is a peg candle or kind of just a peg progression move, right? And look how these guys are just trying to hold this gap, guys. You guys can clearly see it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we'll count that, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 days in a row of defending this 1721 gap. Absolutely ridiculous. If there's, if there's anything you guys are going to learn about gaps, it's that buyers want to defend the big ones, right? It's very hard for them to just seep in and, not get a fight back above. And this is where you'll see a lot of times the biggest people that are trying to buy is buying just inside the gap and then baiting it and then trying to get that squeeze out momentum. Or inversely, right, is when someone's trying to go long in the gap, you'll have shorts that are sells or placing sells here and then try to short it back down on the buy a lower level. But this we'll keep our eye on it. I would like to always see kind of like UPST, right? I don't want to short. I don't want to be the first guy to get short in a gap. I'd rather let the candle close in, however deep that goes, right? I'm willing to sacrifice points to get confirmation. But let's just say it goes halfway down, right? I would want to not get short here. I'd want to see the retest. Once the retest is on good volume and it has the volume I need to see off the rejection, then I will get in, and then we can see, obviously the sell side structure we want to see. We'd like to see 1721 all the way down to 1496. Or we can just simply round this to 15. And yeah, this would be a very nice short, a very lucrative short. But I'm not going to force this one. I don't even think it should be on the watch list. I'm just going to have like alert set. If you guys see me alert Palantir, if you guys want to help me with Palantir, that's awesome. This should just be kind of like a back burner name. But I do like Charles Schwab a little bit more since it does give me, the structure I want, the volume that I want. And like I said, very, very, very similar to how NVIDIA formulated, right? You guys should kind of imprint this in your brains, right? NVIDIA did almost the same exact thing where we had this kind of press up, right? And then it just swept all the way through. I would have liked to have seen NVIDIA get all the way to the bottom of this range, right? Like 484 to 481. Didn't happen. NVIDIA is a tank. I don't think Charles Schwab is as strong, and it doesn't have the volume necessarily for a move like NVIDIA had. So keep that on watch. That is short setup number 3, and I guess technically 4 with Palantir. All right, guys. I would say the last one that I want to at least review from like a shorter term perspective would be Netflix. Okay, Netflix had these very easy to spot daily equal lows, right? You guys can see we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, a little bit higher on the other ones. But for the most part, buyers were trying to hold this little zone here, right? This was the key, I would say, swing high, right? 485, very big psych level. This level had a lot of premium sitting on it. So just an overall area where a lot of dealers, or I guess dealers in general, were just trying to hedge at. We finally, obviously, broke under it today, but it did tap into another weekly level, right? These are both monthly levels as well, which kind of gives us more confirmation in the sense that these are higher time frame levels, which will obviously yield bigger buyers, more money trying to protect these levels. And I really like the fact that we did kind of trickle down, stop out anybody underneath this 485 spot. We even went a tad lower than the 482.70 level, and then really got a nice close back above this spot, right? Volume is also increasing. It's not the most dramatic, but I do think this constitutes as a potential daily candle trap. And this should, in my opinion, if it can confirm back above, I would say 492, I might even be willing to risk this if it can just kind of hover around on Tuesday around 485. I would like to get some 500 call exposure. I think this trades all the way up to 500. And then, that's just the psych level. There's potential that this actually pushes towards this gap here at 506. I'm going to just kind of keep it conservative at 500. Maybe we can even trickle this up to like 501, which is the weekly high. But yeah, this looks like a daily candle trap. This is a liquidity sweep, in my opinion, of 2 weekly levels, right? So we have these weekly highs that I was talking about. We have the main one here. We can even take a look at the monthly if you guys don't believe me, right? Monthly high, right? And then look at how this closed. This is very important. This candle closed well above this level and that level. And sellers had their opportunity, like I said, with today. So this definitely feels like a candle trap. If we want to take a look at the EMAs as well, I don't really use these too much, but we do have the EMA supporting price. That Holy Grail 9 EMA is now kind of floating right below the candle close. So I like this. I like this chart a lot. This wouldn't necessarily be a weekly, where I'd be taking it within 1 week of expiration. More than likely, I'm willing to spend some premium. I might go out to the 0119 and try to grab the 500 calls there. Risk being a break below this daily low at 482.70, right? So this is going to be a shorter term expiration trade, but a little bit longer than some of my other ones, right? It wouldn't just be like expiring, what, January 5th. I would just give it 2 weeks extra time. I think they're currently trading a little bit on the more expensive side. Right now they're about 6.5, so 605 or $657 a con. Might be able to just push this out to like a 510, right? 510 call. That would be 3.95, so a little less expensive. And that's pretty much what I'm looking at from a contract perspective. But yeah, going to be adding this one as well. I really like this chart. I think this offers a good risk reward. It's about 14 points from where we currently closed. If we can maybe kind of pull back down to 485, obviously a really good gain there as well. Just a dollar extra to add to our delta. So going to add this one on watch. And then let's jump into a few swing trades that I have in mind. These are going to be way further out, so bear with me. And we already have a lot of swings that are currently active. But I will try to, add some exposure, even if it's just a contract. I want these under my belt. So let's jump into them. Completely forgot to add this in. It's just I haven't looked at minors in a long time, ever since I took Riot versus Mara. It's kind of pissed me off to look at it. But this chart still looks really good, guys, and I want to add it here towards this top section of the calls for kind of, I wouldn't say shorter term. This honestly should probably go down here to the potential swings. But this looks good, man. I mean, this is some of the highest volume ever for Mara, right, in the month of December. And really, it was just the start of the breakout. Usually these will see, multi-week continuations, multi-month continuations, especially with names that are this shorted. Bitcoin is still very strong in my opinion. But this is looking like it's just a simple breakout here from the December 18th week. And this looks like it's pulling back. Obviously, it's pulling back on higher volume as well. It's almost matching it. But what I would like to see is it get down to this $19.88 to $20 level, and really this volume here subside. Whether it gets cut in half by a third, or if it's over a series of days, and we just start to see volume kind of diverge a little bit, in the sense that price is moving down, volume's moving down with it. And then we start to see the spread of the candles, right? So instead of a big bar like this, we start to get smaller candles as we near this spot. I'd be cool with even some consolidation. If we get a touch and go, I'm cool with that. But we'd really like to just see this 1988 to 20 get retested. And honestly, guys, I really think that we get a move back. And this is conservatively speaking back towards this high here at 27.73. I would probably look to long 30 calls. For maybe May, June. Once again, I'm looking to get about 6 months on these. So if that's too much for you guys, you can maybe narrow it down to 4. That is entirely up to you. I will not tell you what to do. But that's what I'm looking at. And I do want to say that I think there is the potential that this can trade into this monthly fair value gap. Yes, it is absurd that I think it can get up to, what is this spot up here? 47.41. That would be insane. I don't think that happens, but I do think we tap into it right here, right? I think we absolutely push up to that 35 to 35.48 mark. That would just be basically last year's high, right? So 2022, I think it trades back up to that spot. It remains to be seen if it continues higher than that. I honestly don't think it would. But that is what I would be looking for like a very, very large scale target. Conservatively though, 27.73, maybe even we could take this week's high right around 30. That would be in the money. But yeah, I mean, this is my conservative target. So once again, here we are, pull back, right, hold, look for it to trade back up. Maybe it gets above here, pulls there, and I'm something like that. But Mara has to be on watch. The volume, I can't deny this, is something that I saw just looking at, and I said, holy crap, okay, I have to have this on watch, because volume patterns are screaming for a continuation. Even if the sell volume is that high, I think all the sell volume is doing is really just selling into willing buyers, because people don't really understand TA when they start to trade miners or they trade Bitcoin, right? They hear about this shit on the holidays. They all just kind of, and a lot of newbie people to get into this stuff too, right? I mean, who's chasing these bars? It's people that really don't know how to trade. In my opinion, all the smart guys got in here. They got in down here, right? They got in here. But anyone that's just trading basically an open, right, a touch of the previous day high or the previous day close, and then getting into that position and just getting lucky with the next day move, it's pretty absurd. So I think these guys are all going to get shaken out that have traded Mara every single day, and I really think that this is just going to kind of punish those guys, pull back into a very good buy level. And then yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there, and that's kind of my plan for this. But I had to throw this one in here, so I apologize for adding another name, but I can't ignore this one. Alright guys, so bear with me. Let's try to get through these as quickly as we can. You guys can see my layout for the focus list this week if you guys just want to kind of do it how I do it. But you know, I obviously have my active swings, and then I have SoFi, PayPal, Rivian, right? So let's start with SoFi here really quickly. SoFi, I don't really know where to add. I would like to see this pull back pretty deep, down into this 919 to 8.96 range, right? This would be the weekly high retest. It's already retested this level, but I would just like to see this pull back a little bit more before I'm comfortable taking this. That $9 spot's going to be a very, very big psych level as well. I would just like to see this kind of pull back down towards that spot. The weekly doesn't necessarily garner the fact that it's going to sell off. The print itself isn't too hot, but the volume is really low, although it was a holiday week once again. So really hard to gauge this, but I don't doubt that SoFi is going to be pushing 1117 or 1170. Sorry. Honestly, I think this is going to be the next big chart to squeeze. I just can't find an entry right now, but I do want to have this on watch. I'm looking for like June calls. I wouldn't be, too opposed to grabbing. I mean, it sounds crazy, but $24, $25 calls for like June. June, maybe September, maybe October. I don't know how expensive they are. But short term, definitely think 1170s on watch. Personally, though, if we're going to be trying to target this 25 spot, I might just grab shares. I think shares is the best way to go here. But yeah, definitely just looking for that pullback into that spot there. It kind of lines up really nicely with the EMAs here. 50, 200 probably going to be somewhere around. I don't even think it's been trading for 200, so I'm not going to worry about that. But yeah, everything's kind of curling really nice. We did get the EMA curl. I would just like to see a little bit of a pullback here. How does the daily look? Daily, obviously riding, yeah, daily's riding the 9. So, you could take it here. I just said I'm not super comfortable. I'd rather just calm down, fill that gap, hit the 21 here, consolidate around 9, and then look for that, those, I would say 6 months or so on the contracts to get to 1170. I would also buy shares in that range and probably look for that 25 mark. So, big swing here. I think this is going to be a sick chart in the future. Just want to get the right entry on this one, and we do need that pullback in my opinion. Otherwise, I'm probably going to stay out of this one, but it is what it is. Next one, guys, PayPal. I like this chart better than SoFi, just from a technical perspective. We've been waiting for the pullback onto these, I guess this breakout spot, right? It was $60.31. We never quite got the pullback. We just were kind of consolidating here. We had some fake breaks out over the top. I do think we filled this gap here. Yeah, the gap, little miniature gap here. And then obviously kind of traded at a tight range, and then we're starting to get the pullback here that we want to see on high volume. Now, I want high volume obviously to kind of just push it down and get it there quickly, but then I would like to see buyers step in, as you guys can see, right in here, right in this little range here. If they can step in here, and kind of hold or even just consolidate for a little bit, give us a really nice strong bar, right? A nice hammer candle, something like maybe even a doji or something like that. Just some kind of sign that buyers are willing to step in, give us that nice long wick, some high volume, or even just consolidate against this low here for a couple days. I think what I'm going to do is probably pull May or June once again. I would say May. We'll see how expensive they are, but ultimately we want to try to get to 72.50. I wouldn't, be dissatisfied with like a midpoint, so like $70. I'd be looking for 70 calls, 72.5 calls for June, right? And I think this is probably the best RR, just from the fact that it's already pulling back. We did have a structure break. There's clearly equal daily and weekly highs here. And the volume's already kind of going towards the downside, so it's going to be making that move quicker, in my opinion, to retest this spot. So, and pretty easy target, right? 66.93 to 72.50, and I just think we can get some time on these and really let these play out. And that is going to be the second one. Last one, Rivian. More short term. The reason I like this one, you guys can kind of see too. I know a lot of you guys can probably see this. Pattern trader guys, shout out to you. We got this here, right? It's kind of given the same thing as Carvana, right? Where you'd have the potential here for like some kind of flag to play out with the cup and handle. You could even call this like an inverse head and shoulders, right? We just need to get some kind of little dip there. But I'm really watching Rivian. I think that this does something crazy too. You guys don't even see what I have here. I think there's potential for this to push up to 88.40. This might take a little bit of time, but yeah, I just think Rivian I think is going to do something crazy here in the next year, 2 years. So I might even be looking to grab shares on this one as well. But short term, right? I mean, if we can just talk about this realistically for a second, I'm just looking at 2484. If it can get above 2484 to that 25 spot, this is a big weekly level. And really, I mean, you can even take it now off this 23 mark. This is the weekly low here. It's been respected pretty nicely. I would be comfortable taking that and kind of risking this daily higher low trend line. This has just been slowly grinding up. And I think this can get a press up to 24, which would be what Friday's high, and then into that 25 spot. Or if you're not comfortable with that, over 25, I think that this kind of does something like this, right, where it kind of pulls down onto this level, holds, and I think we trade somewhere to these daily highs here, right? So it'd be like 27 to 28. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to do exactly that, but that's definitely a swing trade that I want to keep on watch as well. And that's really it, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to do too much. Excuse me. I already have BABA, KRE, NEO. I just added QQQ. None of them are super heavy size right now. That's the one thing I will kind of say. I did have KRE very, very heavy, but I did take a little bit off the table. Not too much, but I'm willing to add back into this one. But for the most part, man, yeah, I mean, I feel like the market's just kind of, it's very, very swing heavy right now. Just not really trading the P&L. That's how I've been doing it, is just really trading the chart itself, right? Once it breaks structure, I close out, or if I need to, I can average down and mitigate the loss. But these three, man, I think going into 2024 are going to be something special. NEO as well. I mean, I already reviewed this chart. This chart looks primed to go. Just a little bit less upside in the short term, but I think it really just goes to 1022. And that will be it from me. I think it can still go higher, but I just don't like China names, guys. They trade really bad. Like BABA has even been pretty stressful to kind of hold through for some of these ups and downs that they go through sporadically. I feel like there's always news when you go to bed. It's stressful with heavy positions. So if I had to put this on like a priority list, I'd say PayPal, SoFi, and then Rivian as the back burner. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I know it's a lot of charts, but really we can consolidate it to exactly how I have. Right, really we can kind of get rid of BABA, KRE, NEO. Is anything to think about? You could put it on a side screen. You could put alerts on it. Really, market, I'm looking Google, Carvana, Netflix. I'm already in Carvana, so I mean, realistically, guys, if we think about this, it probably should be like this. I'll probably grab PayPal, right? So if we think about it, Google, Netflix, and PayPal are the three longs that I'm looking at. Put side, if the market ends up giving us a good sell structure, right? It does retest, it does everything we want. The market feels heavy. It's weak in the right sectors. UPS, Tesla, Schwab, right? And then kind of just managing the active swings and then looking for the long term. And I would even say shares, right? I think that's what my biggest concern would be for these, is adding shares on SoFi and Rivian. And that should pretty much do it, guys. I mean, that's really all I'm going to be focused on. It was a very, very stressful week. I mean, the goal for me is to just recalibrate my brain, get accustomed back to live trading, get accustomed back to life with a puppy, things like that. I'm not, I didn't go to war. I wasn't gone for that long, but I just want to, the market was definitely tough with a low volume. So I just want to still feel things out, give my contracts time, really set things up for 2024. And then obviously I told you guys, be very, very aware of the VIX and be aware of how the indices or the indexes are trading. If we see vol up plus the market up, we need to start looking for the signs to potentially go short, right? Not even just catch the top. We don't need to catch the top, but just be looking for the signs. If the VIX starts spiking, man, and the market's going up, everything feels, you'll tell when there's volatility and it returns. And then once we see that, we want to be looking for that very, very strong daily sell candle, weekly sell candle, That's our sign, and then we wait for the sell side structure, right? We have plenty of time. I've mentioned plenty of times. I think SPY. I mean, it's kind of given us a roadmap, but I do think SPY ultimately comes down to 423.52 by the end of the year. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. So that's it for me, guys. I appreciate y'all. This is going to be a long one, but I tried to, I guess, manage it as best I could, give you guys exactly what I'm looking at, what I currently have, and then even some share type stuff, longer swings, etc. So hope you guys enjoy. I will see you guys on Tuesday.